Welcome to the Fantasy Dad Show, live on Facebook and Twitch, hosted by Ryan Rhino Kennedy, Kevin Giroux, and Seamus the Moose Anderson.
What's up, everybody? It's the Fantasy Dads here. I'm Seamus the Moose Anderson, here with two very good friends, Kevin Smirks Davis Giroux and DanDan Perkins. How you boys doing tonight?
We doing, man?
Doing all right. Another Thursday, ready for some football.
That's right, man. You know what? I gotta tell you guys something. Like for real. I freaking love football. I freaking hate Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I freaking love every other day of the week. I just love football. I can't get enough of it. It's in my blood. I'm ready for Thursday night football. It's gonna be a great show. Definitely gonna talk a lot of awesome things with you guys, news and injuries. We're gonna talk rest of season. Him or him. Who do you want rest of season? We're gonna talk, flops and pops for this weekend. Definitely gonna have some DFS stuff going. Obviously gonna have a gambling corner because that's the way of the world now. So we'll talk a little bit about tonight. We'll talk a little bit about this weekend. Let's get into it. Now, Kev, I know that we all we all have injuries and news updates because they're all popping off at all different hours of the day. But what do you got for us today, Kev?
What do we got? I gotta go right ahead in the fantasy pros. And we got some guys returning from injuries here. We got Dalvin Cook returning to practice.
That's huge.
He was limited. Who was it? Who else was it that returned today?
I think Josh Jacobs returned.
Josh Jacobs, but then
Daryl Henderson
Gruden came out and said he would love to just watch Peyton Barber be the lead back. He's a crazy person, but anyway. Keenan Allen limited. T. Higgins is out tonight. He may have had a chance to play if the game were Sunday, so that's big. That means he'll probably be back next week. Swift is limited, but he's gonna play. He's been limited all year. He's an RB3, and Dan Campbell said you're gonna be seeing more of him. Aaron Jones limited again. I wouldn't be too concerned with him. I think he's gonna play. Galladay and Barkley, they're both limited. They're both gonna play. Jonathan Taylor popped up on the injury report yesterday, limited with a knee. I think he's gonna play, but you don't love to see that. You don't want to see him pop up on the injury report. This is the other guy I was thinking of. Deontay Johnson returns to full participation. That's huge for the Steelers offense.
Massive.
I'm gonna say, I know Big Ben looked absolutely terrible this week, and because he's done, washed. But they missed Deontay Johnson. It's the only reason Najee saw 19 targets is because the guy Ben wants to throw the ball to double-digit times a game wasn't there. Deontay eats targets. Mitchell remains limited. Elijah Mitchell. I think he plays this week, though. I think he comes back from that shoulder injury, and he's probably the starter.
Oof.
We saw it. Shanahan didn't trust Trey Sermon, right? Or at least
not if Juszczyk is going to get that usage.
Right. That was weird. What was going on there? Kittle did not practice. He injured his calf, and he hasn't practiced all week. So definitely that's one to keep an eye on, because I don't even remember him getting hurt in the game. And then two more big ones. A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, hamstring, both haven't practiced all week. So let's say if they're both out and you really need a flex play, would you go grab Nick Westbrook-Akine or Chester Rogers and plug them into your lineup against the terrible Jets team?
Man, I mean, I guess you could. I'd probably go with Akina, Westbrook
Right.
Akina. It seemed like he just fit the offense the other night. And I watched some tape back after we had spoken a little bit about him Tuesday, Kev, and I thought he just looked good. Like he already looked like a professional. And so I'd probably go with him over Chester Rogers just because we've seen what Chester Rogers is, we've seen what he does, and it's not like he's bad. They're both I don't know. I don't know if I would play either of them, but I guess if you're like in a deep league and
Right.
if you're spotty and one, if not both of those guys are out, I'm probably picking Akina over the other.
Yeah, if this was like the Monday night pivot spot, then that's the only way I would even recommend plugging and playing one of those guys, to be honest. And then this is a game where Derrick Henry's going to see upward of 30 touches, and they're just going to boat race the Jets. So I really don't think anyone in the passing game is going to be that much valuable if Julio sits out. AJ Brown, I think, is definitely sitting out.
Yeah. And it's funny that the Jets, as bad as they have been, are the number one team against fantasy quarterbacks because the quarterback just doesn't have to even do anything to blow those guys out. That's wild.
That is crazy.
Like, I guess don't start Tannehill this week. Like he has no weapons, and it's just going to be Derrick Henry and probably McNichols getting some work. Start the defense. And one other big injury that popped up today, I think it was, Antonio Gibson was downgraded. He did not practice today with a shin injury. He's wearing a sleeve over his shin. So a return to limited on Friday would be huge. It would put him in a position to play, but that's another one to monitor. That'd be a big loss in a matchup that's actually a winnable game for Washington this week. So also Lamont not practicing, but they're not worried about it.
Yeah, they don't sound very worried about it.
Right.
In regards to Gibson, that is a little bit worrisome. I would absolutely keep a tight eye if you're a Gibson owner on that. When we see these guys not practice on Wednesdays, I think we can all attest at this point. We've watched enough football where we know for a fact that Wednesdays are maintenance days, right? I think more often than not, it's just like another day off for some of these veterans. But in regards to Thursday and Friday practices, man, if you have somebody not going, that's usually not a great sign. Now, I'm not saying he won't play. I'm not saying he's likely to not play or unlikely to play. I don't think that's going to be the case, but that's a lot of extra maintenance for somebody. So definitely keep a close eye on that.
Yeah, those are days where you're actually installing the game plan. Like I would think early in the week is more so, all right, let's review what went right and what went wrong against the previous matchup. And then when you hit that Thursday, Friday markets, this is the people we need to target. These are the plays we're going to call. These are the audibles we need and things like that are getting implemented. And if you're not practicing or if you're limited, then you might be limited in situations on Sunday where he might not be in the 2-minute drill as we've seen before. So we definitely want to see a return tomorrow, and if we want to get full confidence in Gibson.
It's definitely not great to see him in a practice Wednesday and then get downgraded on a Thursday. It's not ideal. So if he doesn't play, McKissick, you can definitely plug him in against the Atlanta Falcons for sure. He definitely won't see all the carries, but he will get the most touches out of that backfield.
Yeah.
All right, Moose. We're going to get into this, the him or him rest of season segment. We're going to start with some QBs, Moose. You want to run it?
Yeah, sure. I'll run it. So rest of season, I mean, this is something we kind of all go through week to week. You know, when you're dropping somebody, when you're going to trade for somebody. So this is just something that genuinely, like, we all go through every single week. So we'll start off with the QBs, like you said. And I'll ask Perks first. Rest of season, Jalen Hurts or Tom Brady?
Okay. And this is where we differentiate fantasy versus reality. Now, I think ultimately I'm gonna side with Brady, but Hurts does have a very safe floor. Once Brady does have all the complement of options to him, I mean, Antonio Brown misses a COVID game. Guys get hobbled in and out the lineups. I think once he has everybody available to him, you're gonna want Brady locked in rest of the season. But Hurts is a very close. Like if I had to rank them as QB1s, they probably would be like back to back, like somewhere like 4 or 5, or even like 5, 6 more so. But
That high, eh?
yeah, I mean, I
Wow.
am confident in Hurts. I mean,
Yeah.
his wide receiver one is still a rookie, and I mean he's still learning the ropes himself, just a position wise. But
Mm.
I mean, these are two guys that I'm confident in locking in as a QB1. I just like Brady just a little bit more.
Yeah. I think that's a good assessment. I like Brady. I definitely like Brady more. Let me put that first and foremost. As far as the rest of season schedule, I think he definitely has a tougher time than Jalen Hurts does. But after what we saw the other night, I think Jalen Hurts is inexperience is just gonna prove that he's going to have a tough time the whole season. I mean, he can't be using his first reads. And in regards to Devontae Smith, I mean, he needs to get the ball more. I think is just plain and simple. But I would probably go Brady. What about you, Smirks?
I'll lean a little bit towards Brady, but we saw Hurts the last 2 weeks. He hasn't looked good. But he salvages it somehow. Late garbage time, rushing yards. He always finds a way. Like he's still a top 5 quarterback right now. So it's a really tough one. But I mean, this is Tom Brady having a career year at 44 right now. He's tearing it up. So I'll lean that way with all the weapons he has, and we'll see if Hurts can keep this going for a whole season.
Brady just
Yeah.
got to keep his guys healthy, though. He kind of left them hanging out to dry. I think you didn't mention Gio Bernard, but I'm not sure if he's even going to play this upcoming week with his rib injury, and he left Gronk hanging out there too.
Yeah, well, Gio too has a sprained MCL, doesn't he?
Yeah, I didn't.
I mean,
Yeah, I think.
listen,
Well,
I'm not telling you were wrong because there were literally like 15 different rib injuries yesterday. So
There's a
or
lot.
last week. So it very well could have been. But I'm fairly certain, man, if it wasn't him, somebody's got a sprained MCL. It's just like the injuries just keep piling on, just like they do every season. I'm not sure. We can definitely find that out. But I just want to say, chat, hello to everybody on the stream. Thanks for joining. Make sure if you guys are here, you're hitting the like button, you're hitting the share button. I see Alex is in here, and Chris is too. And we can get to your guys' questions quick before we do the him or him rest of season segment. So Alex said he's sitting Damian Harris for Leonard Fournette this week. You think that's smart? I'll let you take this first, Smirks.
Oh man,
Because that's tough.
I don't want to start anybody against the Bucks run D. Fournette doesn't really inspire much confidence either, though. But yeah, I just think after what we saw against New Orleans last week, Harris had like 6 carries for 14 yards, and then he wasn't on the field because he can't pass protect. That's why Brandon Bolden was in the game. So against this team with an elite run D, they're going to score points. We got an angry Tom Brady coming in. Yeah, I guess you can do that.
probably
Yeah.
probably the best move to bench Harris. At least I would feel more confident if he does it on my bench. Like I won't feel as bad, so to speak. Like for Fournette, if that's your best option, plug him in. It's going to be a game they're going to be leading, and Brady will be on a vengeance path. He doesn't need much. How much actually does he need for the yardage record? Because I feel like once he gets it, I don't know if he's going to go nuclear or if
Only
he's
68. He's going to get it on the first drive.
He needs
Yeah.
68
So-
yards, and I called it on Tuesday. This is my official call for how he's going to get it, and it's kind of wild. But he's gonna get the ball. I think they'll get the ball first. I think Bill will somehow win the toss, Brady will get the ball first, and it will be 2 passes. It will be a streamline to Tyler Johnson, who obviously is just like come out of the woodwork. He's a second-year player out of Minnesota, if I remember correctly. But he's got some speed on him, and he could probably burn one of our D-backs. Not sure who's going to be covering him, but that's going to be like a 44-yard pass down the seam, and then he's going to hit Gronk in the end zone. 2 plays, the passing record, and the Bucks up by 6. That's how it's going to happen.
We'll
Fair
have to
enough.
keep an eye out for that, Moose, and you're going to be there to see it. So
Well, yeah, it's gonna be rough after all the tears after that guy walks through the gate. But yeah, in regards to Damian Harris, personally, I am probably sitting him in most leagues, and I've traded for him in 2 separate leagues this season. And I probably traded a little bit too soon. Probably should have waited until after this game. But I think you're fine playing Leonard Fournette. I think he has a higher. I think he's got a higher floor in this game, right? And probably a higher ceiling with the catching game, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, especially if Bernard doesn't play. They both have stone hands, Fournette and Rojo, but it seems like they trust Fournette a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so. And that's probably a bold prediction about Tom Brady, by the way, but I don't give a shit. All right, Chris Del Guidis, welcome back, kid. We missed you. He said, did you guys mention Jacobs at all for Monday night? He was reading that if Jacobs can't go, Barber will be the lead back. Yeah, I mean, it's clear that Gruden likes Barber, and we didn't know why, and then we saw him pop off this week. So if Jacobs isn't good to go, I think you're fine with waiting on Peyton Barber. Now let us know who you have, Chris. In place of that, but if he does anything like he did last week, I think you're absolutely fine playing Peyton Barber. What do you guys think?
I think he'll be fine with Barber. There's obviously no one to pivot to on the Chargers. He's not going to have Eckler, so like you if you're stuck with Barber, he'll plug in, and hopefully you won't need too much, but he could also pop off again.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. The Chargers' run D hasn't been that great either.
No,
They're much better against the pass, so
yeah. Anything but great, to be honest with you, against the running back. So I think that's a great call, Smirks. As far as anything else goes, it looks like we can continue with the rest of season. All right, next one, we'll go to you first, Mr. DanDan Perkins. Is a running back. Okay, James Robinson or Mike Davis. We'll let you answer this first, Perks.
Well, it's going to be very concise. I want James Robinson in this 10 times out of 10. Maybe even before last week, actually, there was a lot of concern about both of these guys, but Robinson actually showed up, and Mike Davis didn't do anything to really separate from Cordell Patterson. So I'll still stick with Robinson. We're excusing draft capital at this point of the season. It's just kind of like what you've been seeing, and I seen a bit more from him.
Smirks, what do you say?
I agree. Same with me, especially after what we just saw come out right before the show. Carlos Hyde's going to be a healthy scratch. So I think they know what they got with James Robinson. And I think rest of the season, I definitely want the guy on an upward trajectory in an offense that should only get better. Trevor Lawrence should only get better. I still don't think they're going to be a good team. But what's going on in Atlanta right now, Patterson is definitely slowly just taking more and more touches away from Mike Davis, and Matt Ryan. Maybe looks a little better than Big Ben, but I think his time is coming to a close here. So yeah, give me J Rob.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't have to say too much. I definitely happen to agree. And that I know you guys are gonna hate me, but I'm gonna keep saying it all year long up until people start to listen. Is James Robinson has a fantastic playoff schedule, probably one of the better ones of all of the running backs. So yeah, I definitely like him more in terms of rest of season. We did get a question from Alex. he said if Jacobs is out, do you think he can start Peyton Barber over playoff Lenny?
Yes.
You would go with him against LA, right? The Chargers.
Yeah. We've seen Drake hasn't been too successful, really. So I don't think you have to worry about much competition there. And I really think Tom's going to go balls to walls, gas pedal. So I don't really know how productive Fournette's going to be.
Okay. How about you, Perks?
Yeah, I agree with Smirks. I mean, you're essentially talking about a guy that's going to be featured versus someone that, playoff Lenny could still be a fumble away from getting in the doghouse himself. Like, I don't trust Bruce Arians in that regard. I would just go with Barber if Jacobs is out.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're fine doing that. I think the safer play is Leonard Fournette. That much I'll say. But in regards to if you're looking for a big day, I would probably bet on Peyton Barber before I would bet, on playoff Lenny. We did have another question from Derek DeSawyers. Probably said your name wrong. My apologies, Derek. He's got Corey Davis or Hunter Renfrow 1 point PPR. That's a little bit interesting. I'll let you go first, Smirks. What do you think about Corey Davis or Hunter Renfrow? 1 point PPR.
Man. Renfro's been eating right now. Derek Carr's been playing really well, but I think I'm going to just go with Corey Davis. He's still the most targeted player on that team, and Tennessee is probably the softest defense the Jets have gotten to play so far as the secondary goes anyway. And it's also a Corey Davis revenge game. I'm going to buy into that. I mean, you probably shouldn't, but I'm going to buy into it a little bit. I think Davis might have a sneaky decent day.
Okay. Yeah, what about you, Perks?
The narrative is there.
Yeah.
They are at home, I believe. So,
Yes.
he's gonna want to try to send them back to Tennessee with a sore with some sore feelings. But I'm going Renfro.
Wow.
I mean, Derek Carr hasn't been under 370 passing. The target's a better value. I mean, it's in terms of the game. So I'll just go with Renfro, and the floor is much more secure. I mean, we've seen Corey Davis get 2 for 9 and stuff like that. I think Renfro is at least good for double digit in that format.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's a fantastic way to put that. I'm going Corey Davis just because Tennessee absolutely sucks. But yeah, you could go Renfro. I mean, we were talking about him Tuesday, man. He's a guy that is a quarterback's guy, right? He's like a Cole Beasley. He's gonna be there. He's gonna get targets. So yeah. All right. Well, we'll move on. I didn't see any other questions that were outstanding. So let's go to okay. So rest of the season. Back to rest of the season. These two guys are on the same team. They're on a team in which they've seemed to somewhat figure it out offensively as of late. And we'll just get right into it. Jarvis Landry or Odell Beckham Jr. rest of season. We'll go to you first, Smirks.
Landry's on the IR, right?
He is.
He
would be his second
It's
game
probably the
list, I
short
believe.
term, right? So
Yeah,
he'll
short
be
term.
back in 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, he'll be back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Either way, after what we saw in his first game back, getting 9 targets, I'm gonna go with Odell, just because of the kind of playmaker that he is. Him and Baker can just finally get on the same page. Cleveland should win that division. I mean, it won't be Pittsburgh, and it probably won't be Cincinnati. I think it's probably a 2-team race, and they're going to need Odell down the stretch. So I'm going to lean with Odell, just the talent that he has.
I'm right there with you. I think for better or for worse, and it's to be honest, been more for worse. Baker hyper focuses on Beckham. Like for whatever reason, he just wants to feed him, and his numbers suffer, but Beckham usually bounces out and does okay. Baker's a much better quarterback when he is spreading around the targets, but as far as if they're both healthy rest of the season, I'm trusting Beckham just a bit more.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah,
Maybe closer in PPR, but definitely on the Beckham side.
Yeah, I think for me personally, just the targets he'll be getting does it for me. Like you said, um, in regards to big playability too, Odell's got that too, and I know he's had a rough couple of years, but this offense seems dialed in. The run game is obviously there, and this is a second-year coach. Last year we were a little bit more skeptical, before his injury because we just didn't know what to expect. I think we know what to expect now, and I think Odell is in the right place after that injury to lead that team in regards to wide receiver ability, especially within PPR. All right, next rest of season. Now this one I like. This one is a couple of guys that you probably didn't draft. One of them for sure you didn't draft. And one of them has been iffy, and his quarterback got absolutely ruined last week. We got Jacoby Myers or Tim Patrick rest of season. And I'll go first. Here's the thing. So I like Myers more. Even with KJ Hamler out and Jerry Jeudy out now, I think for the time being, if you have these two guys, you should be playing Patrick. But Jacoby Myers is getting the targets on this team for the most part. 9 the first week, 6 the second, and 14 last week against New Orleans. And I think the air yardage on those catches or those targets are normally a little bit more than Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick has the touchdown upside. I think we know this by now. I think that's why we play him is because he's like you guys can probably agree. Like Tim Patrick is good for a tutty a week, no?
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
He'll get
Just
it.
about.
Yeah. He's a large man. But in regards to the schedule, in regards to where they are in terms of when everybody's healthy and when Jerry Jeudy comes back, like I would tend to think he's going to get fed probably a little bit more than Courtland Sutton. But Jacoby Myers right now is the guy in New England for me. So rest of the season, I'm probably going to go Jacoby Myers. And I would even say you can probably get him really low right now. And I'm not saying reach for him, but he's not a bad trade target if you're looking to get somebody else on a squad and you're like, hey, you're going to have to, a 2-for-1. You're like, hey, you're going to have to probably drop Jacoby Myers anyways. So why don't you just give him to me?
Yeah, I think Myers is the best receiver on the team, and he's getting really an elite target share right now, and he's never caught a touchdown pass in his life. He has some serious touchdown regression coming. Like he has to. It's just how long can you go without it? With all these receptions and no touchdowns, it has to be coming.
And you talk about a lot of receptions, Kev. I'm fairly certain the number is 104.
It's kind of crazy.
Or 104 targets at least. It's crazy.
So he's gonna score a touchdown. I mean that's gonna happen. And if he's getting these kind of targets and he can find the end zone, I mean he'll be an easy wide receiver 3, possibly higher. So I like that a lot. Patrick, yeah, as soon as Jeudy comes back, I don't think you can use Tim Patrick anymore. So rest of the season for me. There's the baby. It's Myers.
This one's tough. Only because like although I buy into the talent of Jerry Jeudy, I also buy into the fact that this is a new quarterback. He's developing a rapport with Tim Patrick now, and it's going to be significant like this whole season. So, the opportunity is there for Myers, but for the sake of dissension too, I really do like Tim Patrick. I'm gonna stick on with his side because we've seen the upside there. Myers' upside is tied to the touchdowns, like you were saying, but some guys just aren't red zone threats. Some guys just aren't crossing the end zone just like that. I mean, Julio Jones struggled with scoring touchdowns, so it's just not fair for us to predict that it's gonna just happen because it needs to happen. I mean, 0 is 0, but
Right.
I'm going with Tim Patrick's side on this one. And yeah, I mean, if you feel like if you're really threatened by Judy, you'll get you'll get a lot more immediate gains with Tim Patrick, and then you could trade him off. So, but rest of the season right now, I'm going with Tim Patrick.
Okay. Yeah, I don't hate that. And I like that we're not all agreeing. You see, this is the thing about fantasy that I think some people just like don't understand fully is that you can play fantasy however you want, and whatever research you do can conclude different things, right? So I love that. Yeah, all right. So Derek had another question. Seeing that Lockett did not practice today with a hip injury, would you bench him regardless if he plays or not, because speed is such a factor in his game? That's a great question, Derek. I'll answer this first. I'm probably not sitting Tyler Lockett if he's a go. We've seen him come back from injuries in the past, and he doesn't miss many games. He's actually only missed one full game in his entire career. So for him to not practice today, that doesn't concern me nearly as much as you think it would for a running back, right? And for certain running backs and certain people that miss practices today, out of anybody, Tyler Lockett's certainly not somebody I'm not playing. I think if he plays, you have to play him. What do you guys think?
Yeah, he's the improvisation king with Russell Wilson. Like, so even if he is a little hurt out there, don't have as much giddy up or a pep in his step, all it does take is for him to buy a little bit extra time, get behind the defense one time to make your week. If Lockett's out there, if they're confident enough to roll him out there, then I'm confident enough to play him, especially given the first 2 weeks what he was doing.
Yeah, I agree. I think if Lockett plays, you'd have to have like a stacked team to be able to sit him. So, yeah, I would say if he's active, you got to play him.
All right. Yeah, so we're all in agreement there. Sorry, Alex, I missed your question originally. When does Jarvis return? So he missed this last game with Chicago. It looks like week 6 versus Arizona is when he's scheduled to be back. That doesn't mean it's guaranteed. But yeah, he should be back week 6 against Arizona. In which case we'll keep you updated, Alex. Jordan DeCarlo's back. He had a quick question. Said, what's up, guys? Just got out of class. You smart little bastard, Jordo. What's your thoughts on J-Rob tonight? I got him going as my RB2. Yeah, not a problem against. I don't think there's a problem with him playing tonight. It depends on who you have, on your bench. But in terms of having a piece of the pie tonight, I don't think that. I don't think that having a piece of J-Rob tonight is a bad thing. I think he's got a pretty good matchup. And I think he'll be just fine. Startable for sure. Like, yeah, I would start him. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Certainly
Yeah.
RB2 worthy. I mean, that's not you're not putting too much on his plate. And I know a lot of people like to start guys on Thursday night just because it's a prime time game and they get to watch it, but you're not making a mistake. I mean, with James Robinson there.
No, and I saw that he actually only played a little over half the snaps in the last game, and he was able to really produce on those. But the fact that they seemed like they almost scaled back his workload because of the short week, and now we're seeing Hyde as a healthy scratch. So I think Robinson's going to have plenty of work tonight, plenty of opportunity to put up some points as an RB2.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And it's not like Cincinnati's been rather good against the run. So yeah, I would have to agree, obviously. Chris is back. He says, "What's up, fellas?" Back with the same question every week. Oh no, Chris.
There it is.
Flex spot PPR, Tyler Boyd, Kareem Hunt, Marquise Brown, Robert Woods. He's starting Dalvin Cook, Chris Carson, DJ Moore, Mike Williams. Yeah. I definitely would too. So yeah, that's a pretty damn good lineup, Chris. We are happy to answer your question every week. Perks, I'll let you go first. And I'll repeat the names. So we have Tyler Boyd, Kareem Hunt, Hollywood Brown, Robert Woods, flex spot, full PPR. Who are you going with?
Oh,
That's
if
tough.
Hollywood did what he should have did last week, it would just be Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
But he left a sore spot for every owner right now. It shouldn't even be a debate. So I'm actually gonna just excuse him to be objective. Robert Woods, I'm gonna excuse him for him objectively not being involved.
Oh my god, man.
And
this is so bad.
and then so we're at Kareem Hunt, and who was the other guy you said? I'm sorry.
Tyler Boyd.
Oof. Yeah, with Higgins out, Boyd is a good option, but I think I'm going Hunt. And I mean, it just goes to show that I think people get wide receiver happy when it's just, it's a full PPR offer, so Kareem Hunt will get catches for you. And second off, those opportunities on the ground behind Nick Chubb are still valuable. He is much as part of the offense as anybody else. So I'll be confident with Hunt, especially with the other options. Like you're not, or the starters he has set in stone. I think Hunt presents a pretty good floor.
Okay. What about you, Kev?
I'm going to agree, especially against Minnesota. I think that's one of the higher scoring games of the week. Kirk has been playing some great football, and so have the Browns. So I think that's a fun game to have a piece of. And we saw what Hunt did last week. I mean, he's going to get, whether it's rushing attempts or targets, he's getting double digit, at least 10 to 15 opportunities a game. And he's making the most of them. So I think he's definitely the play.
Okay. Well, for the sake of disagreement, but not to disagree with you guys, but just to go with a different option, I personally am starting Tyler Boyd in this matchup against the Jags. I think the T. Higgins news for me, is enough. He definitely gets a bump up in my rankings here to a mid-range wide receiver 3. I think he should see plenty of volume tonight. I mean, in the last 3 games, he's had 19 targets, so that's fairly significant. He's finished top 35 and 30. I know the first week was rough, but I mean, with Joe Burrow being back and being healthier every time he comes on the field, I think Tyler Boyd is a very serviceable spot. Now, what I will say, Chris, is that you will not start him in your flex position tonight if that's what you go with. You will start him in your wide receiver 1 or 2 spot because you need flexibility with your flex. That's why it's called flex. God forbid somebody goes down with COVID, somebody goes down with a Friday injury, or they can't go for some reason. It's always most important to allow yourself flexibility, and you just never know what's going to happen. A pop-up drug test could take somebody out. We've seen it happen with the man named Gordon. You just never know. So you want to make sure that if you have players, that's for anybody starting somebody tonight, running back or wide receiver, you must have them in their designated positional spots. Don't have them in flex. It can screw you. It can ruin a playoff chance for you. And so just get used to it now. But yeah, all right. So we move on. Bobby Massaro, what's up, Bobby? Bobby's got a question. He says, "Sup, boys? Benda." He's got Tim Patrick or Mike Davis this weekend.
Oof.
I'll let you go first, Kev, with that oof sound. I think
Oof.
you're deserving of that start here. Go ahead, buddy.
You know how we feel about Mike Davis around here. I don't know. Not against Washington. That they've been terrible. I think they got to right the ship eventually on defense. And Patterson's been cutting into the workload a lot. I think I'm gonna go Tim Patrick. Bob, is it a PPR, full, half? What do we got? If it's any kind of PPR, I'll go with Tim Patrick. Lean on him getting his usual 4 or 5 with a good chance at a touchdown.
If it's any type of football, I'm going Tim Patrick. I'm not playing with Nick Davis. Like, as long as it's American football, we're going with Tim Patrick.
Yeah, I can't get behind Mike Davis anymore.
Oh no, that's horrible. Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think most people would probably tell you to start Mike Davis because it's probably the safer of the two options. But I have to agree with you guys, especially with KJ Hamler out now too. I know he wasn't taking like a massive load of the targets, but I still think Tim Patrick's floor right now is a touchdown a game, and you can't make that shit up. You can't teach that, and you can't replace that. So yeah, I'm gonna go Tim Patrick there, Bob. Probably regardless of PPR or anything like that. But yeah, all right. I'm trying to look here. Doesn't look like we have any. I said Bobby said full PPR. Yeah, Bob. I don't think it matters. I think we're all going to tell you to start Tim Patrick. So yeah, all right, great. So it doesn't look like we have any outstanding questions. If I missed it, just put it back down. Just write it back down so it's at the bottom there. Rest of the season, back to the last one. Jonathan Taylor or Antonio Gibson? This one, first of all, hurts me. It hurts. I just don't want to have to discuss this because I personally have them ranked back to back. But I'll let you go first, Dan.
All right. Yeah, this is actually a pretty close one too. I think ultimately I'm gonna trust Gibson to continue to show what he's actually already shown for a couple weeks. Jonathan Taylor, it just seems like everyone around him's like made of glass. Like, I mean, Quentin Nelson went down with a high ankle sprain. Wentz is just getting back into the flow, but I just don't think that they want to give the full confidence in him. And even though they're trading Marlon Mack, which could show up some opportunities for him, I guess. I mean, not that he's gotten much. I'm gonna say that Gibson proves more, but with his one catch for 73 yards, and they actually say, "Hey, let's throw this guy the ball more," and he's gonna be more of a true workhorse rest of the season. So give me Gibson.
I'm going to go with Taylor because that's my boy.
That is your boy. I
And
mean,
we saw it the whole second half of last year. We saw what he can do. And I think it starts this week. Miami just got chewed up by Peyton Barber. Of all the people to go out and get like 120 put up on you by Peyton Barber. So I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor. He was off to a slow start last year, too. He's got a game against Houston, 2 games against Houston coming up. He gets the Jets. He gets Jacksonville. Arizona's weak against the run. Yeah, I think they figured it out. The guy is one of the top running back prospects coming out of college in recent memory. There's a reason they're willing to trade Marlon Mack. And I know Hines is always going to be there, but Gibson's always going to have McKissick. As we've seen in the 2-minute drills, they don't trust him out there. Now we learn that he's banged up. Well, they're both banged up, apparently. Taylor was limited, but Gibson didn't practice today, and he was downgraded from yesterday. So that I'm going to go with Taylor.
Okay. Yeah, I have them ranked right now, rest of season 13, 14. I do have Gibson at 13, but it's probably, I mean, I didn't like do the projected points. Like I don't have an algorithm for that. I'm no data engineer, so I mean, I think he just barely squeaks past him the rest of the season. Now I don't even know. I mean, I was offered a trade. You guys saw it this week in Gibson and Taylor were involved. I would have been trading away Taylor and Marvin Jones. And honestly, what did it for me was Marvin Jones, like not taking that trade. It wasn't even Taylor. I've been actively trying to seek different options for Jonathan Taylor if I can. But not to say he won't have a good rest of the season. Don't freak out. Nobody freak out. But for me, I have Gibson just barely getting over the hump against Jonathan Taylor. All right. Well, that's it for rest of seasons. That was a fun segment. I loved that. We're definitely coming up on the time though, so we're gonna start to speed things up here.
Yeah.
So we got our flops or pops. And we're flops or pops, but you know what it means. It's very clear, it's very obvious, it's very self-explanatory. Who's gonna pop this week and who's gonna flop? And Dan, we will start with you.
All right? You want me to give both, or you want to go one way around?
Let's do the flops first. All
Yeah,
three, and then we'll pop.
We'll start with the bad news.
It's always the best. Okay, so my flop this week, I'm going with Noah Fant, and I'm going with him for a specific reason because if you just look up some statistics, you'll see that the Ravens have been poor against the tight end, but they've also had a murderer's row against tight ends this year. At least so far, they've had Kelsey, Hawkinson, and Darren Waller. So if they're gonna sit at the bottom of the rankings or close to the bottom, that's why. And they actually did pretty good against Hawkinson. So if you have another option to pivot from Noah Fant, I would definitely go there because most times you probably picked him with somebody else in that low end tight end 1, high end tight end 2 range. So just pivot away this week.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's a good assessment, man. They really had to play like the 3 best tight ends in the league, arguably. That's crazy.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that call. And you know what's funny too is Noah Fant is probably on the favorites list for popping off this week because of just the fact that no Jerry Jeudy, no KJ. But yeah, no, that's a great call. All right. Now I took a look at your flop, Kev, and I gotta be honest, this is a ballsy call. So I just need to know where your head's at. Why don't you tell the people
bit
who
of
you have?
insight. I mean, well, he flopped last week, so it's not that crazy. I'm going with DeAndre Hopkins, and I hate to say it because I have him in my League of Record squad, but I just think it's going to be another week, one more week before he pops again because he's still a little banged up. He's still got a rib injury, probably whether it's bruised ribs or whatever it is. It's painful, and he's got Jalen Ramsey, they played together in the AFC South. They had some good matchups, but if you look at the numbers in each one of those matchups, Ramsey, I think, came out on top more than Hop did. He probably won't be on him the entire game just because of how the schemes are going to work out. But given the amount of options Kyler has, the coverages they're going to be running, and the fact that he's still a little banged up, I just think it's a perfect storm for another upsetting game. I hope I'm wrong, but that's just the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah. Shit. I mean, so are you saying to like you're not saying to sit him though, are you?
I mean,
Like
you can't really
yeah.
fit
Okay.
DeAndre Hopkins just because. I mean, he goes for 25 and then he's on your bench. You look like a clown, but
Yeah.
he may just flop. He might give you another 5 or 6 in your starting lineup, and that's going to sting, but kind of is what it is right now. He's got to work through this injury and whatnot and the tough matchup.
That's fair. Now let me ask you this because I think these are reasonable, and I'll just go through a few real quick. Are you starting DeAndre Hopkins versus the Rams, or are you starting Adam Thielen versus Cleveland? Like I don't know if you would have to go through this option, but there's been a lot of trades this year. You just never know.
Starting both of them, but
yeah,
I'd probably have Thielen ranked ahead, given the fact that he's just going to score a touchdown every week. That's what he does.
Okay, I think this one might be a little bit more realistic. DeAndre Hopkins or Debo Samuel versus Seattle.
I still go Hopkins there.
Okay, all right. I probably would too. I'm just looking at ECR rankings and stuff, and I mean, Deandre is he's ranked number 19 right now, behind a lot of
Right.
fellas.
That's really low for him, man. That is very low.
I mean,
him.
you would think
True.
top 5, top 6 every week,
Right,
like no
that's
matter who
why
the matchup is.
people are looking at the Ramsey matchup and the rib injury, and they're thinking the same thing as me. There's no way Hopkins should be ranked as the wide receiver 19.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So my flop, I'll get into my flop. My flop originally was going to be Damian Harris, but I think in most leagues you don't have enough RB depth to sit him. So I decided to go with a guy who was drafted a little bit longer, and I'm not saying that, again, Perkins was exactly right when he said draft capital at this point in the season. We know what we know. You have to go with the hot hand, and you can't really go off of this. But I think Chase Edmonds is a guy you can probably sit this week. And it again depends on your situation, depends on how RB heavy you went in the draft and who you have, obviously. But he's been playing well, right? He's not getting a ton done on the ground, but he is making up for it in a high target share week in, week out. He saw 20.5% target share last week. And that's a solid baseline, but I do think that he's more of I guess he's a very low end RB2 flex play for me against the Rams. I think their defense is incredible. And again, I would have gone with Damian Harris. You probably can sit Damian Harris against the Bucs, but for me, Chase Edmonds is definitely on the bubble as well. I don't expect too much. All right, we did get some questions. Let's get into those real quick because some of them do have implications. We do have some implications. So we got Michael Angelo. Welcome to the stream, buddy. As usual, Mixon or Robinson? We'll start with that question. He does have two. So Mixon or Robinson? I'm probably going Joe Mixon, right?
Yeah.
Going Joe Mixon, yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll answer that one quick. Burrow or Tannehill? I'm probably going to go Burrow, even though he doesn't have T. Higgins.
I'm going Burrow because Tannehill might not have nobody. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just, this might be one of them Derrick Henry, like 240-3 kind of days, and they just kind of coast. Like, they don't really have to do a whole lot to beat the Jets. The Jets will find a way to beat themselves. That's why the Jets are somehow number one against quarterbacks. Quarterbacks don't have to do anything to win these games. So, yeah, I think Burrow, this could be a fun game tonight, I hope. I lean Burrow a little bit over Tannehill.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, I just think he's getting the ball out better right now as a whole. And Derrick Henry is the clear, obvious breadwinner in that offense and will be for the foreseeable future. All right, Chris D had a question for us. Should I start Laviska Shenault over Miles Sanders and Devontae Parker? My immediate answer is start Sanders out of all three of those. Now, I know last week sucked. I realize that. He ran the ball twice. There's no possible way Nick Sirianni didn't get into the meeting the next day with all the other coaches and whatever players and leadership they have and didn't get absolutely reamed out for that. That was one of the worst football game plans I've ever seen. And if it continues, you might as well just drop Miles Sanders now. I don't see that continuing. So I'm going to go Miles Sanders over those two. I can't trust Laviska Shenault yet. And as far as Devontae Parker goes, I mean, he's almost a droppable candidate for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Just one of those cases you don't want him to pop off on your bench. Well, Sanders, I'm talking about. Anybody else, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's like he touched the ball.
Timeout.
What do we got?
Timeout. He said Emmanuel Sanders. I don't know how I'm a dummy, Rhino. He just said Sanders, so I assumed it was Emmanuel. All right, so Emmanuel Sanders, Laviska Shenault, or Devontae Parker. I'm probably still going with the Sanders.
It was Sanders.
Yeah,
I'm probably
Sanders. Yeah.
Sanders squared. I hope you have both.
All
play them both. play them both. Yeah, Manny Sanders is definitely he's definitely looking good, and he's getting a lot of yards per attempt on those tosses. So yeah.
The Bills get to go play Houston. And they didn't let off the gas last week again, and they were up big on Washington. So I think Josh Allen can go slinging around some more. I think this is going to be a Stephon Diggs party as well. We've only seen him. I mean, in full point PPR, he's still been fine. He's putting up 15, but I think this is the first game where he really pops. Also,
Okay. Yeah. Rhino said he's going Chanel. Now, if you guys know Rhino, you know that he likes to take risks, and that's why we love you, Rhino. So I appreciate that call out of him. We'll see, dude. Laviska Chanel could probably, or I won't say could probably, he could pop off this week. Just in terms of we've been waiting for him to, right? He was like supposed to be the guy on that offense. I think we heard a lot of stuff about Marvin Jones, and obviously DJ Chark is there, but in regards to Chanel, he was very highly touted in this year's draft. So yeah, so all right, well, let's get to it. We got about 20 minutes till game time, gents. Maybe a little bit less. So we're gonna go through our pops quick. And then I may give you a bet that I would take tonight. I don't think we'll get to any DFS plays for tonight. If you do have any, throw them in there, but it sounds like most people are concerned about their weekly plays. So I'll start off with my pop of the week. I'm going to go with David Montgomery. And I know a lot of people are not that high on Monty right now. It seems like he's kind of slipping through the cracks the last few weeks in PPR. It hasn't been fantastic. He's gotten 11 points and 8 points, just finishing the top 25 out of those 2 weeks. But Detroit is terrible. They're an absolute mess. So I would say he's mid to low end RB2 this week, but I think he could potentially pop off against what is a very bad defense, and especially a defense that can't stop the run very well. It's tough to have faith in Matt Nagy right now. We are all calling for his firing, and I would never call for a man's firing, but I don't like the guy. I really want to see him gone after what he did to Justin Fields last week. So yeah, I'm saying David Montgomery this week is my pop.
Smirks, you want to go next?
yeah, this is an easy one, but I think we haven't really seen the elite RB, top 3 running back upside you expect from Alvin Kamara yet. I know he looked decent he got into the end zone against the Patriots last week, but his most points this year in a full PPR is 20. So I think this is a week in front of the Superdome home fans for the first time this year after that hurricane. I think he can absolutely blow up against the Giants defense. Like 7-8 catches, 2 scores, maybe even gets over 100 on the ground. I think this is just a huge 30 to 40 point week for him.
Love that.
Right. Yeah. So my guy is Amari Cooper, and I'm taking him to have a pop week just because of the fact that they got Carolina, J.C. Horn, who is quite frankly looking like a rookie stud. He's going to be out for quite some time. He's going to miss a couple months with a broken foot. So maybe that defense might reel back a bit. Him and CD pretty much share like the number one duties. I'm going to assume that he's going to take the reins this week. He does much better at home on the road. So give me Cooper.
Okay. Yeah, love that call. Love that call. All right, so it looks like we're coming to the end of the night. I know we said we get to our DFS plays. I think we'll get to those on Sunday morning. I think that would be best at this point. However, I do want to talk about the spread tonight, the money line. Actually, I really don't want to talk about the money line because I probably wouldn't bet the money line in this game. So we'll talk about the spread, and we could do a little prop bet. And if you guys have any questions in regards to the spread or anything like that, who you should take, let us know. If you're on the stream right now, and I can see some of you are, hit the like button. Please hit the share button. Even if it's at the end of the show, it really helps us out. So smash it, please. Smash it. Smash the share button. Let your friends know. Hide your wives. All right, we'll get to the spread. So we'll do the spread first. Bengals minus 7.5. I know I don't know if you guys do this a lot. I don't care. I'm still going to ask you. So Dan, would you take the Bengals at 7.5?
Honestly, I wouldn't. I have a rule of thumb, like anything over 7, I got to be. I mean, Vegas knows what they're doing, but anything over 7, you have to have the utmost confidence in. It has to be like a runaway winner. And when I see these two teams, it could be either a really high scoring game or a really sloppy game. But I think Jacksonville will stay close enough where they'll sneak into that touchdown. 7.5 is way different than 6.5. Just put it like that. So
Right.
I'm gonna take Jacksonville with that.
It makes a big difference. I'm with you. I'm gonna take Jacksonville plus 7.5.
Yeah, I would probably have to agree. Although I normally don't bet the spread. I would say I'm much more. Y'all know I love my over unders, man. So I'd probably be more likely to take that. In which case we'll talk about that. It's at 46 points. The last I checked. Yep, 46 is the over under. We'll start with you, Smirks. Are you taking that?
46, you said?
46 points over under.
23, 23, 23, 20. I'm gonna go under. I hate unders, but I think this is probably like a 23 to 20.
Okay. Yeah, so
I'm-
you're just under. You're
Yeah, yeah.
you're literally one
I'm a
thing
couple
under.
points under. That's 43. That's
Oh,
yeah,
43.
so
Yeah,
field goal.
he's
That would be
comfortably
basically
under.
field
Yeah,
goal.
I'm sorry, you won field goal under, yeah.
And I'm right there. I mean, even if I give it 24-17, I think it's gonna be around that way. Jacksonville's high this year is what, 21? So yeah, no, I'm going with the under. It's too much to put on the Bengals to score that much.
All right, bet. I'm smashing that over because you guys know this is what I do. I'm absolutely
Overs only.
I'm absolutely hammering 46 points in almost any single NFL game we see all season. We've seen some pretty bad matchups this year that have actually been pretty high scoring. I hope the trend continues, and therefore I will be absolutely smashing that under. All right. In regards to now, I don't know if you guys know about underdogs. Yeah, this is free advertisements. We aren't paid by them yet, but someday we will be because I'm gonna win a shit ton of money using this application. So basically what you do in pick'ems is you pick the over under on various stats, and I'll tell you what I have tonight. These are my picks. Marvin Jones, I took the over on 60.5 yards. Jamar Chase, I took the over on 0.5 total touchdowns. Tyler Boyd, I took the over on 5.5 receptions. You see the trend going here, boys?
Bunch of overs.
Overs. Now, here's where it changes. I got Auden Tate under 22.5 yards. I don't give a shit if T. Higgins is out. I'm not betting the over for Auden Tate on nothing. And my last one of the night, it's a rivals pick, and it is Joe Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence. And I have Joe Burrow with more completions than Trevor Lawrence, plus 1.5. So we'll see how it goes. In regards to anything else tonight, is there anything else you guys want to say for Thursday Night Football, whether it's about a player, whether it's about any type of bets, anything at all?
I was gonna get into just real quick talking about the showdown captain. The last time Joe Mixon played Jacksonville, he had 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 catches, like 42 fantasy points. So I think most people will probably have him in the captain spot, in
Like that.
what could be a blow up spot for him. So if you want to pivot off of that, I would go with the slightly cheaper options of a James Robinson, a Jamar Chase, a Marvin Jones, or a Tyler Boyd. Any one of those guys to try to just pivot off of what I think everyone, the chalkiest play will be Mixon in that spot or Burrow. So I think you try to go find one of those other guys. Maybe the Marvin Jones gets into the end zone a couple times, or Tyler Boyd just has a really, really nice 8-catch PPR day, something like that. You try to get somebody different into that captain spot because that's how you win the money.
And that is the exact reason I don't do DFS, because I am absolutely trash at it. Dan, anything you got to say about tonight, bud?
Yeah, well, more so just moving forward, let's just take a look at Jacksonville and how they treat the tight end position tonight. They did make a trade this week for Dan Arnold. I don't think he's active tonight. It's just too quick of a turnaround. But we want to see if he gets featured or at least a little bit involved next week or the next game he's available to play. Just because a quarterback, his best friend is a tight end, and especially one that's struggling might start to lean on him. So let's just see how those snaps go for where the targets go, and if there's an opportunity for Arnold to shine in future weeks.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And last thing I want to say, if you're still on with us, hit the share button, hit the like button, follow us on all our socials. You can see them right there: TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also head over to our YouTube. Just look up the Fantasy Dads wherever you are, and you can find us. I'd also like to say, do not have any players in your flex tonight. I will not stress it enough. All season, it is not good juju, and it can end up screwing you in the playoffs if you're not careful. Other than that, thank you guys all for joining. It was an absolute pleasure to be here on another beautiful Thursday night, and we hope you all enjoy a great game of football tonight and smash the over as usual.